hope the drunk person thing wasn't referring to me. Welcome to another series of Get the Fun Outside. Today we're out for a little walk on our friend's private land. In a discussion with him, we were saying it would be nice to have a little retreat area to have a campfire at. Again, in talking with private landowners and private land use, make sure you have permission before you do things like this. We have a very close relationship with the individual that owns this land, and he's let us use this particular site for a little bushcraft area. As you can see, or maybe not see by the camera angle, there is a scarred section of earth where there was a fire. This is a location where the landowner and a lot of his friends skidoo to and have little cookouts, as well as there's a creek behind me where they often shovel off the snow and expose the ice, and the kids have skating parties and often use this fire area. The downside to this fire area is that it's right in an area of vegetation, as well as there's no rocks or anything around it to keep it contained and safe to use any other time than at winter. So we're in discussions with the landowner. We've decided to make a fire pit down here. This isn't something you should do on crown land or public land and just decide willy-nilly where to put a fire pit unless it's an emergency situation. You should respect the earth and plan accordingly. Provincial parks in Ontario, you can't change where the fire pits are. You have to accept the fact that that's where they've decided, because there are rules to follow. And that's what this video is about. If you're going to be building a fire pit in your backyard, on your property, anywhere like that, there's certain guidelines you should follow. One is Combustibles Nearby. You can tell by the lighting, as well as maybe by certain camera angles, that we're in an open area where the canopy is open. If the fire goes up, we're not going to have anything catching on fire above us. And around us, we're away from the trees in probably about a 15 to 17 foot circle here. Roots may be an issue. So in preparing for this, we have brought the tools, and that is shovels. We're going to dig down and make sure it's safe before we make this a permanent campfire. We are very close to the creek here and very close to the water table. So I don't think it should be an issue, but we're going to make sure that it's safe as well. When setting up your fire, you want it away from combustible areas. You want it away from structures. Look at your local municipality laws if you're doing one in your backyard, because a lot of municipalities have very strict measurements, and that's for your own safety as well as for your own insurance and liability.
One of the other things we're going to do with this fire pit too is we're going to try and get it just out of the line of walking, because there are children that'll come down here, and so we're just a little bit off the path. So it's still accessible, but it's not going to be right in the middle, because we don't want kids running too close to the fire and getting hurt. And like Jerry was saying with the combustibles, when you're digging down, you really have to watch your roots, because they can do a slow, like a smoldering, and can still be very hot and burning under the ground even though you don't see them. So we want to be very careful. But like I said, we're close to the water, and this property actually has a really, like, there's a lot, the water, you don't have to dig very far down before you see water. That's the one great thing about this property. So we think it's pretty safe to put here, which is why the owner has said okay to go ahead.
So we should talk about the setup. We will go around shortly and collect rocks. The rocks we'll be looking for, we don't want to get rocks out of the creek. We don't want them wet because they can explode after being heated up. We want rocks that are found in the ground, and preferably in sunny areas that are dry. Our preference is to get square or rectangular rocks.
More flat, yeah.
The flatter the rocks, the better you have for a containment area, and the less likely you are that sparks are going to spark out.
The other thing I find too, especially when we went to provincial campsites, if they're like a lot of really round rocks, they're always rolling off anytime you try and move stuff around like a log or something. and you don't want those things falling on your feet. I have a really bad tendency to run around barefoot, and falling rocks hurt. So I like flat rocks in my fire pit. That's just my preference.
Location of fire pit in a camp situation like this, you want to be at least 1 meter or one good step away from it. So if we're building here, this bench is actually too close, and once we build the fire, we'll move it back a bit if this location suits us once we start breaking ground. We also want to consider wind direction. The prevailing winds come from my left and go to my right. So we will have the smoke mostly going this way. So when you're looking at setting up tarps or any kind of bench and seating and stuff like that, you want to consider your prevailing winds. Of course, wind changes direction, and day to day you're going to struggle with that. But for the most part, the wind direction in this area travels this way.
This direction.
So with the fire pit here, and most people using the trail to my right, and us sitting here, it should be okay for location, for us to be facing the open end of the fire. Fire pit design varies on what you need.
Yes.
Some people like the traditional round circle because they picture people sitting around in the circle. Myself, who loves to cook on a fire, I struggle with a circular shaped fire pit because I find it gives too uneven heat for whatever you're cooking, whether it be on a spit or on a grill. We deal with most grills are not circular, they're rectangular or square. And so I prefer a square or rectangular design.
That's the other thing is, if you go, even in some provincial parks, most of those sites will have a grill somewhere on there that somebody has left behind. And if you have that fire pit the proper size, you can just take it and set it right down on there. It's not going to be falling off in a round shape. It's not going to tip, and then your food's going to go in the fire, or it knocks over the water, and first instinct is to grab something, you're going to get burned. I like the square ones. Any of them that I've ever built have been a rectangular shape. For that reason, is because I really like to be able to fit that grill right on top of it, and then we'll secure it sometimes with a stone. But I also like the big flat stone in front of it. If I can find the nicest flattest one for the front of the grill, when you take that food off, you can set it right on that stone. Those stones are usually warm, so you can keep your food warm there, and you're not carrying it across a campsite, especially if you have little kids there or drunk people that aren't looking, or you get distracted. So that's a personal preference.
I hope the drunk person thing wasn't referring to me. But anyways, so let's get to it. We're going to break ground and see what we're at.
Awesome, awesome.
Kindly get the shovels. So we've dug out our fire pit, we've removed roots and vegetation, and we've loosened up the soil to be able to put down a bed of rocks.
Yeah, but now you got to go find some I need flat rocks.
I'll find you flat rocks, honey. You bet.
You're good.
There you go. Rocks on demand.
Wow. Okay. I like them. They're pretty square. They're pretty flat. I don't know if I'm going to have enough to put down on the bottom. So at the very least, we may come back later with some other stuff and put it down on the bottom. But I'm going to build a rock bed now. Right? Mm-hmm. One of the things I want to do, sorry for putting my bub in your face, is I'm going to find a nice flat one for the front. So far it looks like it might be that one. Yep, I would say that's probably the one that's going to be in the front of the grill. Okay? So, and one of the things about this is it's like a jigsaw puzzle. I'm going to move my pieces around, and I might change them.
I'd help, but I know I'd get slapped.
No!
So let me know if I can help.
No, thank you. Do you think that that looks big enough?
Yeah, I think it's coming along.
See, to me, I'd make it much bigger.
It'll hold an 18-inch log. That is standard cut 16 to 18 inches. And our grill is about 24 inches square, so we're going to be fine.
Years ago, I built one. How big was that one at the camp? 4 by 6? 4 feet by 6 feet. But hey, I told everybody you could roast a small animal on that thing. Nobody would go hungry. It was awesome. Keep putting my bum near your head. I'm sorry.
Don't be.
You're funny. I married a funny guy. I don't like that one. Jigsaw puzzle. This will be the part that we don't build up. The pots will come off and set on there. So that was the whole purpose of that. Put your nice flat ones. Not sure about that rock there. I talk a lot to myself. But it's okay because it's a one-way conversation. I've decided I don't like that rock.
He's taking out a sound man. These flat rocks you're throwing away, could they not go on the bottom?
Yeah, they probably could. It's functional. And as long as it's functional, it doesn't have to be ornamental. Anytime you go out in the bush, it's not a fashion show. You're out there to have fun and to make the most of it. What do you think?
I think it's coming along fine, and it's a good start, but we'll definitely get some more rocks for the bottom.
Yeah.
And to keep the fire from going down under. And over time, we'll have to clean out the ashes or find more rocks to build it up higher.
Obviously, yeah, if we get a lot of better flat rocks, eventually we'll kind of build it up a little bit. This is fine for a small fire down here by the river, by the creek. For now, it's a nice area where the kids, it's an identifiable space. So anybody that comes down knows this is the spot to use it. They don't use it in any other area. And they're not, stepping in it. It's obviously defined, right? You use what you got available to you.
And the other thing we'll be bringing down here is a 5-gallon pail and setting it off to a side where we'll gather some wood and have a wood pile between 2 trees. And
the pail acts as the bucket of water.
And we'll get a bucket of water to put the fire out.
And we're getting eaten by mosquitoes.
Good job, hon.
Thanks.
I'm happy with that. I know I can cook some really awesome dishes on that, and stay tuned for that with the Camo Chef. And whatever you do, whenever you're doing it, remember, practice safety, sustainability, and get the fun outside.
Don't be afraid to get a little dirty.
Yes.